misstate anything.
Nope.
So I want to make sure that everyone's on the same page, that we all know that this building needs some love.
Yep.
I want to make sure that the city is prepared, because we're in a funny position. It's a school building, but it's also not a school building. It's a city building, and it's not our money we're putting up. It's the city's money for the council and the mayor. So we're in a precarious spot. I just want to make sure that the city is aware and prepared that if this building, being, what is it, 100 and some odd years old,
Yes.
presents with what undoubtedly will be the most interesting problems we will ever find in a building of that age, is it's going to poke into our budgets, and that concerns me, because we haven't planned for it.
Yeah, and so fair question, Member Shabilia. So let me just say that. So we have not gone out for FY25's capital improvement plan, and when I say gone out, from a bond perspective, right? That's still to come. So we do have, I'm going to say probably in the neighborhood of about, 6 weeks to 2 months to get there before we go out for the bond. We have to, as you know, we have to appear before the state auditor and her committee and justify anything that we're bonding as part of a normal capital improvement plan. So we do have membership, a little bit of time here, not much. And I think it's one of the things that speaks to me to the urgency to kind of get this project moving, right? Because you are correct when you say there is no funding in the capital budget as it sits today for FY25 for additional maintenance of the central school building. And it's in place. But we do have upwards of 6 weeks to 2 months, like I said, before we will fully go out for a bond notice. And if that were to fall through, I would, confer with the CAFO, but we would probably be looking at a ban, process to kind of get us through to the next fiscal year. So I think, your point is spot on. But I think at the same time, Mike, if this passes tonight, we're going to want to have people starting to look at the structure in more detail and I know we've had people look at it, but we're going to have people look at it in more detail so that we know what the impact is.
Okay.
Long-winded, Dan, I apologize, but
No, but necessary nonetheless.
Yep.
Okay. My other notes here are for the advisory board.
Mhm.
Not the advisory board, the board that's going to oversee the ultimate management of this. I know that you guys are a nonprofit. In the negotiations, it's going to be my hope that, I don't know if it's Attorney Rossetti or one of the attorneys from our firm, or hopefully a combination of the two, that are going through this to make sure that we're doing everything right when we go through a lease and hopefully what becomes a operation agreement. But I would like to see, and Mike, I'd be curious as to your take on it, but having someone from the school committee serving in some capacity of that board, if for no other reason than to be a voice for the school and to report back to the school, because again, it is our building, but it isn't our building, and it's that funny spot. So I'm curious what your thought would be, having someone join the team.
Yeah, we'd be open to that. I can, take it to our existing board and leadership. But my initial sounds like that's the fair ask. We want to be in collaboration. So that sounds like a good way to do so.
Fantastic. My other big concern is the layout of the building. We have DPW and fire in there currently. We have adult day in there currently. And having everybody coming in through that main entrance or one of those side entrances is probably not the safest way. So my hope would be that during contracting and developing of that renovation plan, that would be addressed. My hope is that we could also find a different home for the DPW and the fire in some short order, and maybe even adult ed, because those younger people deserve a whole lot better than that building can offer them in its current state. So that would be my hopes and dreams. But on that note, I will relinquish my monologue to someone else and maybe come back later.
Mayor, it's the superintendent. Can I just comment on that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So, Member Shabilia, that was definitely a topic of conversation in a lot of our conversations, the security and the entrances. So there are currently 3 main entrances. And so we're trying to figure out, like right now we have adult ed using one entrance. We have DPW using an entrance. Some, ADA is an issue. We know that, we've already talked about that. But a security plan is definitely something that we've talked about internally, that would have to be a part of this planning. That again, once we know we're moving forward, that Bruce Stella would be, that is also in the agreement that nothing can be done in that building without Bruce Stella being a part of it, knowing it, collaborating on what gets done, because it's still our building, right? They're leasing it. We need to make sure that the kind of work that might be done or changes to entrances or doorways or security, again, that was, and I know that they did put that in the bid. Definitely a topic of conversation that we know has to get addressed.
I have a question there. Is there an integrator or access control platform that the city currently uses or the schools currently use for access control? Because I'd be interested to maybe collaborate with them, bring them in and get their expertise.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
I mean, we definitely have people who like, once we get this rolling, we have contacts of how we secured Branch Street and different access for different people in different sections. So there's definitely, ways to do that. But even for, blocking off certain entrances so they can't get through, right? That building is a big circle up and down the stairs. So it's definitely something we have to think about when programs are going to the gym, what place and space are they using to move about the building versus the adult ed and the DPW? What space, what stairs, what entrance are they using?
Yeah, and I
But it's definitely in the forefront of my mind,
Yeah,
and I know that has to be part of our conversation once we get in there.
Yep. And, without going down a slippery slope, I do want to say that the city is in the process of acquiring some additional property. I don't know if people have seen the press release today. Yeah. And the idea has never been to keep DPW or fire department in there long term, as you know, Superintendent, right? These are really just Band-Aids for a short period of time for space. And I believe that is going to resolve itself. That's not the intended long-term use of the property we're acquiring, but it would give us, to Member Shabilia's question, the capability to move DPW and fire department out of the building until we have structures suitable for both of them.
Mayor, may I?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Remember that.
That's okay. So I guess we have in front of us, help me out here, with the information we received today from our city solicitor, we can approve a lease up to 10 years, correct?
For the first term.
For the first term. So we have to, so any motion we make would have to be clear on the number of years, because we were at 99 there last time, right? So this is a huge difference. And I am very curious, assuming that we move forward, how soon will we see this, the work beginning? Like, are we talking before school starts or?
I'm shaking my head because that doesn't exist that quickly. I mean, I know what's going to have to go into this, right? So if this moves forward tonight, we're going to be meeting hopefully sooner rather than later with the group. But we also, so the next step though is the city council is the final approval on this, right?
Right, yeah, right.
There are still some steps before we start doing contracts and getting actual contractors for specific things in there to find out costs, all of that, because we've done estimated costs through the walkthrough. We've done that with this group. But now it's we're meeting, like Bruce is going to be walking in there meeting a specific contractor for the abatement, the painting, the bathroom, security. That's going to take months. So we're not going to see work happening in the building, I don't think, for several months. This is going to take us through the school year. The amount of work and the process that we're going to have to go through to get the contractors and get the work. And then obviously, I know it was brought up. I can't remember if we talked about it publicly last time, but certainly it was brought up in the additional information of there are schedules we're gonna have to work around too for certain projects, right? Some things nobody has to worry about. If they're patching roof pieces and things like that, nobody has to leave the building. But there are certain things that are gonna be worked on that we have to work around the work schedule, right? The adult ed course schedule and the DPW work schedule.
Right.
So it's doable. You know, we
Yep.
do it. We do these things when we are in school sometimes, and we have to do them in the evenings and on weekends and during vacations. But we really won't know those details until we get in there with this
With
group,
Bruce.
probably Michael, again, because he did the walkthrough with us, but you know, with Michael, with the actual contractors for each one of those issues that we need to address first.
And when do you anticipate this going to the city council, Mayor? Assuming we're
August
moving.
5th. August 5th.
Oh, that, at the next meeting, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And Mike, you had mentioned when we last met that you were hoping to get some programming off the ground before you even got into the Searles building to start something locally.
Correct. We would love to, launch both pillars together. We're going to have this big real estate lift, and at the same
Yeah.
time, we also want to get programming running to start interest, build that ripple effect, and get students engaged. So, once we have a commitment in place, we have some candidates for a program director and a youth advisor for initial positions to start that programming.
Okay. And you'd be looking for an alternate site until you were able to really dig in to the central building? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or issues?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to have a brief second about it. If that's, can you hear me? I'm on my cell phone. If
We can
Yes,
hear you,
we
Mike.
Yep.
all right, perfect. So like I said, I understand everybody's concerns, and I fully support this, and I continue to support it. I think we do need this. However, with finding out that it's going to take several months, and the thing that I will go with Member Shabilia on is I don't want this to fall by the wayside, and then 6 months down the road, something's being brought to school committee for something. I think if we're going to have these conversations and continue to talk, we should have members of the school committee involved in these meetings. That's just my personal preference, especially where this is sounds like it's going to be a big project, and decisions will need to be quick. And I don't want to be having like special meetings where we need to get something because we need to get started 2 weeks down the road, or a decision has to be made. It just seems like the last couple of meetings we had to make decisions right off the bat. And I don't want it to go that way for this. This is something very special and means a lot to me and a lot of people. And if we are participating involved in it, we're ahead. We're like, okay, this might be a meeting down the road. We should have a meeting. Like, I just don't want to get blindsided on decision making. That's one thing, especially where we've had people are concerns about this previously. That's my one statement. And what's the other thing? It seems like everybody else covered many of the concerns. I've done research. We don't have board members with the YMCA, and they lease from the city. But if Mike's willing to have collaboration where we're involved in their decision making, that's great. I'm happy Mike would involve that with us. But other than that, like, this is something, I just want to have a general statement. This has been a long time coming, and we're having this opportunity finally to have this done. So that's one thing I really want people to consider when they're voting tonight. And also, I agree also with Member Shabilia. Like I said, when I voted for the adult ed to go to the central building, I said on grounds that it will be a temporary spot for them. Because if we are going to turn that into a youth center, I want that whole building to be a youth center. That's always been my prerogative. But that's my general statement. I will be supporting this tonight.
Thank you. Anybody else? Madam Vice Chair, Kristen, anything you want to add? Ken?
Oh, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, I just want to compliment the process. Definitely the group that's involved, and also State Auditor Diana DeZaglio reached out to me, and the comprehensive list of questions that were answered thoroughly. I have to commend the group. We had another group, an entity that we're going to have to do an investigation of them, and they weren't forthcoming with information. I'm very complimentary of the group that wants to oversee the youth center. They reached out to me in a timely fashion. They answered my questions. Some of them are complex questions. They went into great detail. They're interested in collaboration with the school department and the city. They're open and transparent. They're amenable in their philosophy. And I like the overall goal of working with the youth, but also working with some of the young adults that might need assistance to go into the job market or to venture into college or vocational institutions. And I think that's the mindset that we have as a community, as a school system, is that from pre-K all the way into early adulthood, that we do not leave people behind. We have a waiting list on adult ed, and we work with the state. But like what I was reading with the document just automatically had me focused on Mike Rowe, is that you want to have these people geared towards the professions to build up their skills, even if it's financial literacy. Soup to nuts with these kids and also the young adults that might still be part of the program. The demarcation line, I think they're going to work on, because I had some concerns between the young members of the youth center versus the older adult members of the youth center. And I think having later hours and separation and maybe a query check, and also the security measures I support. And also talking to, again, it's the infancy stage, is the transportation element. Is that you're going to have kids within walking distance of the youth center, but you also have kids from the east end and the west end who want to go to the youth center. And we also want to take away the language, which they agreed to do, was that we should not be pigeonholing ourselves and setting a maximum cap of 100. That's going to obviously include young people and also some of the young adults. So to remove that cap, I think I appreciate that. There was discussion of a good neighbor policy. There was a response on that. The security measures and the firewall and the quarry, that's been discussed. And also, again, I understand it's the initial stages, but I think it's going to be fruitful, ongoing conversation is about how do we transport these children to the youth center from different parts of Methuen, whereby the families might be working all day. They might not have means of transportation. And we don't want to limit the capacity. The only limit to the capacity should be the building restriction itself. So I think all those things I got to commend. And like I said before, I know Little Sprouts, imagine that. I know the legacy. And then also, again, the Herculean effort that State Auditor Diana DeZaglio did with acquiring the state funding. And we're operating on a very quick timeline to utilize that funding. So at the end of the day, it was a very quick turnaround. I appreciate the answers to the questions. I want to give a kudos to Member Shabilia about doing a further investigation about the lease years. But I think we're going in the right direction, and I would be very confident in voting in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Willett. Okay. So the motion's on the table to, I need, to approve the bid award for 10 Ditson.
So,
Martha-
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Oh, sorry. Yep, go ahead.
So I guess what I'm hoping for, and I mean, be it the will of the committee, is that we could friendly amend the motion to approve pending successful negotiation, approval, and execution of a lease, and with the expectation that the lease and an operating agreement would come back to the school committee for review and approval once all of those attorneys and whoever else is going to be involved in that do what they need to do.
I need a second for that friendly amendment.
The longest friendly
Excuse me,
amendment.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
can Member Shabilia just repeat that, please?
So you want me to condense it, Martha, so it's not a narrative?
That would be great, thank you.
Motion to approve the use of 10 Ditson Place for a youth center, subject to school committee approval of negotiated lease and operating agreement. Is that succinct enough?
I think, can I just make a comment? I
Yeah.
think we have to actually approve the bid award contingent upon.
First.
No, I think it's the bid award that we have to approve. Mayor, correct me, I don't do this.
Correct.
But I
You're
think
correct.
the motion has to say we're approving the bid award, and then the second part that Dan said as the amendment.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
So what do we have, Martha?
I have a motion and a second to approve the bid award. And then we have the friendly amendment that I thought we would vote on the friendly amendment and then vote on the bid award with the friendly amendment.
That's correct.
Okay. So I think we need a first. Right now, we need a, Member Shabilia was the maker of the motion, the friendly amendment. I apologize. Who was second?
Maxwell.
Thank you. And then any discussion and a roll call, Mayor?
Mayor, I'm sorry, one more thing. So my only last thing, our next school committee meeting is August 12th. So that's when we would present a final lease to the school committee for approval, which
Correct.
means, Mayor, you and I would have to schedule whatever subsequent city council meeting is after August 12th. We'll bring that
Correct.
to.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. I just want everybody to have the right timeline.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have a couple of weeks to work with Michael and his group, right, to fine tune the lease agreement with some of this new language. I think
Wouldn't it need city council approval before they do the lease negotiation? No?
that's what I'm not being, my understanding, and I'll double check, the mayor and I will double check, my understanding is that the final lease approval, the language of it is under the full authorization of the school committee. What the city council has to approve is us doing this because of the amount of money. We're not getting fair market value. It's a little bit of a different conversation.
Correct.
I will double check that with the mayor, and I will double check that with the city solicitor to make sure we have those right wheels in motion. That's my understanding today.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's 100% correct, but I think it is.
No, I think you are. I think you are.
So we'll double check that. We'll have to present the lease to them, and their resolution is really, do they agree to this? Because we're leasing, the school committee has agreed to lease this building less than fair market value. That's their role in this right now.
Okay.
I'll make sure that I get that in the next day or two, and I'll get that out to everybody so that we have the timeline correct. I think would be important for everybody.
So Martha, I think you're correct when you say the friendly amendment is on the floor first. So there's
Correct.
first by Member Shabilia, seconded by Member Maxwell. And so the body needs to vote, roll call, my apologies, on the friendly amendment first.
Ryan DiZoglio,
Yes.
Mary Beth Donovan,
Yes.
Lori Keegan,
Yes.
Krista Maxwell,
Yes.
Daniel Shabilia,
Yes.
Kenneth Willett,
Yes.
Mayor Neil Perry.
Yes. Motion,
Unanimous.
friendly amendment passes unanimously. Now we have to go back to the approving lost my train of thought. Approve the
That's
bid
all right.
award with the friendly amendment. Yeah.
Okay. So I think do you need a first and a second for that, please?
No, it's already on the floor. It was on
Without the
floor-
amendment, though.
Well, it was on the floor before the amendment came through, so now you're just, let me think.
So
No, I think
moved.
Can't hurt to do another first, and second, right?
Second.
up now, yeah. Go ahead.
Dan,
So
did you moved?
I did, and then Ryan seconded it.
Okay.
Second. Okay. You ready for a roll call?
Yeah.
Ryan DiZoglio,
Yes.
Mary Beth Donovan,
Yes.
Lori Keegan,
Yes.
Krista Maxwell,
Yes.
Daniel Shabilia,
Yes.
Kenneth Willett,
Yes.
Mayor Neil Perry.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, is there any other business of the committee for this special meeting?
I have a question. Since we're bringing a lease back to the committee in August, would it be possible to get an agreement about how much the DPW and fire department are going to be paying to be in that building for utilities and everything like that, so that the school committee can approve that too? Because I don't think the school committee's ever approved the existence of the DPW and fire department in that building, and I think we need to do that.
I want to be careful. So it is a school, but it's a city building, so be very careful here, right? So I think we have to outline, to your point, Vice Chair, what each party is going to pay towards custodial and services, right, within the building. So I think that's more than just DPW and the fire department, right?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
But I think the lease outlines what the youth center is going to be paying.
Correct.
So if I could, I think, Member Keegan, I think I know what you're asking. I think the mayor, you and I have had this conversation in the past. Maybe we could talk to the city solicitor when we talk to them about the lease here. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't think it's a lease agreement because they own the building. We all, it's a public, we're not asking another entity to come in, but probably some kind of agreement documentation for approval with the school committee. So maybe there's some way that we can have both of those conversations with the city solicitor so that on the 12th, we can bring both of those back to the school committee all at once. So the whole building we understand how the whole building is being used and supported, funded, things like that. Does that sound like a plan?
Yep.
Member Keegan, does that match your?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Perfect. I do have one other comment, if you would indulge me for a moment, about this project. I promised her I would at least say this tonight, and I'm excited for it. And now that it has been approved, I think it's appropriate. I did have a conversation with the auditor earlier last week, and I do want to share that, in addition to the money that is already secured for this project, she did explain to me that there's an additional $1 million in a bond bill with the state that she had recently met with the governor and lieutenant governor and was received with a lot of reception to release that. So I think there's an excitement about this as we're moving forward and being able to name it, call it, and have a place for it. She wanted me to make sure that I was aware of that there, are things moving as well that were able to be secured when she was senator. So I think that's exciting. And I thought it was exciting. I told her I would share it here as long as everything went positively tonight, that there is potentially, some more funding for this at the state level. And we're excited because I think some of you do remember, I know she talked about it. Maura Healy did come to meet with our students and spoke at our high school with the My Voice group. So we know she has at least a context for it. So hopefully that is going to be successful as well. So just kind of an added point to the ongoing work and where this is headed in the right direction. So thank you. Just wanted to share that.
All right, let the fun begin.
I know. It's gonna be good.
Amen.
Stella's happy. Yeah, this is going to be exciting. It's a lot of work ahead, but it's good.
Someone tell Bruce to go take a nap so he's ready.
I know.
All right, with no further business to discuss, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the special meeting session of July 16, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
Bilia, Dead, Member Doglio, Martha?
We have Ryan DiZoglio,
Yes.
Mary Beth Donovan,
Yes.
Lori Keegan,
Yes.
Kristen Maxwell,
Yes.
Daniel Shavilia,
Yes.
Kenneth Willett,
Yes.
Mayor Neil Perry.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Unanimously, the meeting is now adjourned at 5:41 p.m. Thank you all very much.
Thank
Good
you.
night, Methuen.
Go on.